Welcome to the, what is this, 27th class of Haiti, the most important country in the world. We're going to be talking about some interesting things here. We're going to be talking about the sort of second half of the 19th century, which is very, very chaotic with lots of instability. But as we will see, there's actually a kind of stability in this instability. At the same time, we're going to be studying the work of pioneering anthropologist and Haitian statesman Anténor Firmin, and we will even be discussing Rochester's own Frederick Douglass and his relationship to Haiti. So let's get into this class, shall we? This is a kind of a deep one. So if you're watching this, you're really into Haitian history. This isn't like the super fun, not fun, but it's not as accessible as, say, the Revolution or as other things that we've studied. So please stay with me as we go through very important, but perhaps less accessible parts of Haitian history. Continue to share. Students and friends, I am Professor Sky. My name is perhaps known to you. I've undertaken to teach about Haiti. I want the curiosity and a thirst for complex understanding to reign in this class. I'm working to help that happen. Unite yourselves, students, and learn with me for the same cause. I don't know. If you want to take notes, I think I might call this the stable chaos of 19th century Haiti. Maybe I might have two titles. I might call something like Haiti and the Invention of Racism or stuff like that. We'll see. We'll see based on how this goes. Okay, so we're going to be in my class doing a little table right, a little bit of review on Vodou and Creole. We'll be talking about Firmin versus Gobineau. So this is, if you're following along with the class, I would expect you'd be able to answer these questions with some level of depth. How does the zombie represent post-slavery fears of the Haitian populace? And what are the similarities between Vodou and Haitian Creole? I'm not going to spend time on that now, but I want you to think about it. Can you answer that question? If you can, good job. You've been paying attention. If not, watch the last couple episodes again. Okay? Take notes. Everything that I am talking about here is taken from Haiti's The Aftershock of History, a great textbook written by Laurent Dubois. It's not even a textbook, it's a very well written piece of popular history. And he does his best to make this fairly difficult and obscure time filled with a lot of moving parts as interesting and as engaging as possible. And I'm following his lead. This is an image of all the presidents between 1859 and 1889. You see some of them last 3 years. Some of them last a year. Some of them last less than a year. Some of them last a couple months. It is a complete and total chaotic mess. This is the time of too many presidents. And at the same time, almost every president comes up with a constitution. So, what do these constitutions do? Well, they largely try to placate. Okay. One of the presidents said that he likes coup d'etat because that's how power keeps moving. But it's like you rise to power by having an insurrection against the people in power. You say, I'm going to be different. I'm going to care for the people. You rise to power. You make a constitution that placates the people. And then usually you just end up doing what you are going to do anyways, which is consolidate power for yourself, be fairly corrupt. And then someone else will come up and they will promise reforms. And then they will take you out. And then they will have a constitution. And it will continue pretty consistently. So, a constant throughout this entire time, which, if you've done the reading for today in Aftershocks of History, you should be able to know, is this oddly stable form of instability because of the military. As Dubois says, the Haitian army thus was not used so much to defend the country as to run it. Population of 700,000, an army of 20,000, of which 13,500 were generals. I don't know how well you know the army or how well you know armies in general, but that's too many generals in an army. Okay, that's already an issue and a problem that they are having. Now, how did all these changes affect the people? It turns out, based on the work of historians, not much. Why? Because most of the people weren't in the cities. They were in the countries. They were living in their lakou. They were doing subsistence farming. They were doing a little bit of exporting. They were just living their lives. So like their relationship to the port to Port-au-Prince and the central government was basically just leave us alone, let us be. That was their main thing that they wanted. So all of these changes kept happening, and for the most part, the most people were not largely affected because Port-au-Prince was not really, which is the was the capital, is the capital, was not really in their business. As the book says, the disorder meant less interference for the people. If you have a highly centralized government with a very strong executive who is very stable, they are more likely to try to tell you what to do. They're more likely to try and control you. If everything is just constantly one leader after another, you could just basically get along. It's like if your parents are fighting, you might be able to get away with stealing a cookie. Haiti was a confederation of 11 independent regions with their own ports and landowners and different areas. Like that's the main thing to I don't know if you can hear upstairs, but my daughters are awake, so there might be some sounds from upstairs. I don't know. This microphone does a pretty good job of tuning out those sounds. So because of that, the people were not as affected by these changes as you might imagine. And also, this made it easier to rise up against the central power. If you were, I don't know, representing the Sud-Est or the Nip, or you're representing one of these areas, you can put together an army fairly quickly and come up and take over. The paranoid leaders would take advantage of fear and eventually try to become more dictatorial. How does this chaos entice the rest of the world? Okay. Now, this is the image that I'm using to depict the rest of the world. I happen to love wolves. I might have even named one of my children after a wolf. So I love wolves as animals, but they are an efficient image of something dangerous and predatory on the outskirts of Haiti. I think it's fair to say that a lot of the world has treated Haiti the way a pack of wolves treats an injured boar. Okay? That's the way to think about it. Now, I wanted to use images of hyenas and jackals, but they're just not as cool looking as wolves, so you'll have to forgive me. The rest of the world was like Germany. Did I scare you? You should be scared. Germany saw this chaos and they figured out a way of owning land. If you remember, in the constitutions, it was pretty consistent. White people could not own land in Haiti. Why? Why is that? Why be racist, Haiti? Because they knew if white people were able to own land in Haiti, white people would own how much of the land in Haiti? Yeah, white people would own all of the land in Haiti. Outsiders, foreigners would own all the land of Haiti, and Haitians would be reduced to a state of servitude again. They knew that. So they had a law. You could not own property if you were a white person or a foreigner. Okay? Now, the white person eventually went away, but still stuck with foreigners. But Haiti doesn't have a lot of money. Other places do, such as the recently formed Germany, formed in early 1870s. So what happened was they figured out a workaround. They could own property if they married a Haitian woman. And so Haitian women could raise their status, being married to a rich merchant. And at the same time, the merchant would get access to this land to the point where the Haitian government started denaturalizing Haitian women, kicking them out of the country. That's how much of an epidemic it was. It's German merchants in their later dealings with the Haitian government. In 1885, one Haitian quipped that Haiti is the process of becoming a colony of Hamburg. All right, that's how serious it was. So we have Germany. We even have England. England was getting in on the game. 1865, Jafar troops were bombing Salnab's forces with British ships. Okay, so we're talking like actually working with the British to maintain power. Every once in a while, British ships will show up in the ports and extort. By that I mean just straight up take money. France, always the wolf. The indemnity, they're still paying the debt during this time, all the way till 1874 at least. We'll talk more about that the next class. The debt went from 16 to 44 million francs. They would send in the navy. Up to 75% of Haiti's GDP was what was paying debt. As we will study in tomorrow's class or in the next class, Haiti as a nation is obsessed with paying off its debts to its own detriment. At this point, the Haitian bank was owned by the Bank of France. That is how much they were being exploited by their former exploiters. Spoiler, a different country is going to own the Bank of Haiti very soon. Would you like to guess who? Did you guess the United States? Are you reading ahead? The United States, the United States, as we will study, has now finally started flirting with the idea of further flirting with the idea of annexing Hispaniola. Now, a lot of racists didn't like it. As you see here in this quote, we have Negroes enough at home without annexing an island full of them. Other people would talk about how they need to turn it into a new Texas or a new California with all of the great natural cattle land in the Dominican Republic and all of the great farmland in Haiti. Many Haitian leaders described the United States as hopelessly materialistic, uncouth, even backward country, not to mention a deeply racist one. Ouch, that hurts. But this is where we are. Yeah, this is what's happening. Is the United States is much like a wolf sniffing around Haiti. We are just getting started with this interaction here. But there's a technological invention which changed everything for the United States and changed everything for the Caribbean. You might be thinking, what invention is this? What is this? The cotton gin? What is this? It's the steamship. The steamship changed everything. All of a sudden, you didn't have to depend on wind. All you needed was coal and places to put coal on your ship because you can't carry all the coal that you need on the ship, or else all you'd be doing is floating around with a bunch of coal. You have to carry other stuff too. So you need coaling stations. All of a sudden, once you need coaling stations, that means you need places to put them. That means you need friendly countries and friendly lands. Haiti and the Dominican Republic were independent, and they therefore able to not be taken over by coaling stations. Like they could determine that. So that made annexation a very appetizing thing. At the very least, getting a coal station in Haiti, which is why in 1874, Dominican Republic and Haiti swear to remain independent. One of the not entirely absent examples of unification and unity amongst the Haitians and the Dominicans. I need to say something here. Sometimes, whenever I mention the Dominican Republic, some people get in the comments and start saying bad things about the Dominican Republic, and then people from the Dominican Republic jump in and say bad things about the Haitians. I just need to say here, this is not a channel for that. If you hate Haitians, don't watch this. If you hate Dominicans, don't watch this. This is about humanity. And the people of Dominican Republic have been mistreated by history and deserve kindness and care. And even though the history, we'll get into the history, is a terrible history between these two countries, I think unity between the Dominicans and the Haitians is the best thing possible. I think that will help to defeat the real enemy, which is, white supremacy and colonialism. I think the fact that the DR and Haiti have been so efficiently pitted against each other is just another tool of white supremacy, making sure that everyone is not pointing in the same direction. So, anyways, I'm just saying that here because I see that in the comments sometimes. I just need to make it heard. My love of Haitian culture has nothing to do with a dislike of any other. Although the history is the history, and we need to talk about the history, right? Okay. Frederick Douglass. If you don't know who Frederick Douglass is, he is one of the greatest Americans who ever lived. Born in Baltimore, but lived most of his life in Rochester, New York, the city very near where I live. He was an abolitionist. He was a freed, enslaved person who wrote about his experiences. And before the Civil War, he was against annexing Haiti because he thought it was too racist. But after the Civil War, he saw all these chances during the uh re what do we call that thing after the Civil War? What do we call the period in America after Reconstruction? Thank you. During the Reconstruction, he saw Black Americans getting more and more rights, so he thought he was for it. He thought we could spread these anti-racist American values. He was optimistic. And there was somebody in Haiti who sort of agreed with him. Who? Firmin, one of the closest things we have in this class to an unambiguous hero. Anténor Firmin. Who is Firmin? Well, first of all, he appreciates and studies the United States' success. He thinks it's interesting that the population density is low. He thinks that's fascinating. He likes that it doesn't technically have any colonies. And he thinks that there's an attention to national good over individual ambitions, which I think he knows would suit the leaders of Haiti and the people of Haiti quite well. But this is the thing. They are going to be in conversation about annexing Haiti. There's no time for learned discussion. Firmin focused on expressing his worries about the intentions of the United States. Douglas, in return, tried to reassure his Haitian colleague that while the government was indeed interested in acquiring a coaling station, they would do so only through proper means that were consistent with the peace and welfare of Haiti. Yeah. Do we trust America? Well, we sent Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is a trustworthy guy. We'll see. The problem was, as he arrived in Haiti, he found himself in an uncomfortable position where he wasn't entirely sure of the intentions of the country that he served. So he wasn't entirely sure. The question here was over Môle-Saint-Nicolas, which, if you remember, the British used to own. It's just like 120 miles from Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, which is a part of Cuba which America inexplicably owns and uses to torture people. So I'm not trying to be political. Those are just accurate descriptions of what happens there. So this would be the perfect coaling station for the United States. Look at that. They could just put in their ships right there. All right. So Douglas tried to convince Haiti to give up Môle-Saint-Nicolas. It's one of the best harbors in the world. It was actually offered by a former president of Haiti, Salnave, in 1865. The United States said, no, that's fine. So it was offered to them, and they said no, but here they changed their mind. Eventually, the racists just said, forget it. They said, we shouldn't be sending in Douglas. He can't possibly do it because he's black. These are people who are so stupid that they actually believe in the inequality of races. We're talking about a really primitive time here, everybody. We're talking about the 19th century where people actually believed in the inferiority of one race to another. What can you do, you know? So they scrapped it. They got a new person to come and represent them. And famously, Firmin's writing is what stopped them. Firmin explained was that the United States was being a bully. The fact they had sent warships to Port-au-Prince, a clear attempt to threaten Haiti, made it impossible for Haiti's government to accept the U.S. request. And for the most part, for this period of time, they succeeded. Firmin and Haiti managed to not give up their land. We will see next class how America will take over Haiti. He also predicted something. It's just worth mentioning. Appearances to the contrary, he's talking about America here. This big country is destined to strike the first big blow against the theory of inequality of the human races. Indeed, at this very moment, blacks in the great federal republic have begun to play a prominent role in the politics in various states of American Union. It seems quite possible that in less than a century from now, a black man might be called the head of government in Washington and will manage the affairs of the most progressive country on earth, a country which will inevitably become, thanks to its agricultural and industrial production, the richest and most powerful in the world. Do you see? If you're an American, this is probably going to make you sad because he saw the promise of America. He saw that Barack Obama could be elected president. He saw that we could be a progressive country that does not believe in inequality. It's a little sad because right now, in this very moment, we are seeing a backwards return to a less enlightened state. But it's fascinating that he saw America as a potential beacon of anti-racism in the world, which sometimes it is. He was also a pioneering anthropologist, somebody who studies humans. Here is from the International Encyclopedia of the Histories of Anthropology by Carolyn Flucher-Loban. Anténor Antenor. Sorry, I was saying his name wrong. That's a name I've never heard before. Antenor Firmin was thus either a marginalized and/or forgotten founder of anthropology whose contributions might have been made in French anthropology, but were ignored due to his race and his critical treatment of the race concept in anthropology. As you will see, we're in a time where racism is becoming more scientific. There's more bunkum, racist bunk being thrown out there. And he was a crucial voice, which was sadly ignored and sadly not listened to. I'm not sure why, but it probably rhymes with flacism. Okay. And that is one of the sad facts of history that this person who is so clear eyed would not be listened to. Firmin wonders, will Haiti work? He talks about the three demons that threaten Haiti: European racism, US expansionism, and Haitian authoritarianism. Sorry, I have to fix that slide right there. And yeah, man, he hit the nail on the head. Those are indeed, I would say, if we threw in a fourth demon of climate change, I would say that those are the main demons that still primarily threaten Haiti to this day. I mean, European racism, just swap that out with racism of the global West, authoritarianism. It's very very forward seeing. So he was an anthropologist, and he was constant battle with someone who is much more famous but much more wrong, a guy named Gobineau. Boo! Everybody boo this man. Boo this man, Gobineau. Now, listen, I've talked about a lot of people inventing racism. We talked about Moreau de Saint-Méry developing all the different kinds of races and all that. There's a lot of different, mostly French guys, who invented the idea of racism. But he really did a lot for scientific racism. He coined the term Aryan to apply to people of German origin. He saw the whole world as white, black, and yellow. Not exactly the most subtle scientist. And as far as he was concerned, whites were only capable of intelligence, beauty, and art, which is all the more reason why it's so beautiful seeing that once people of African descent were given access to the tools of intelligence, beauty, and art, they, they have participated equally in the intellectual pursuits and completely dominated in all forms of beauty and art. It's unbelievable. I mean, no, it's totally believable. It's just human beings. They need to create. Human beings. They're smart. Human beings. They're beautiful. They just have to be given the freedom to be so. They just have to be given access to the tools that display that intelligence, beauty, and art. So the real thing he created was the pseudo-science of racism. And he said that race mixing represented the end of civilization. And he had a huge fan by the name of Adolf, last name Hitler. Huge. A lot of the building blocks of white supremacy that would lead to Nazism were made off of Gobineau's work. Stuff like this about different skull sizes, things which have been completely debunked, yet are still very present today. You can still, on many places on the internet, you can still know that somebody who propagates the inferiority of non-white races might be having dinner with the President of the United States on multiple times. Okay? These things are still going on. These beliefs are still being had. But what's amazing is that Gobineau wrote in 1853 this book about the essay on the inequality of human races. And just, 32 years later, Anténor Firmin wrote on the equality of human race. That's right. That is right. Whoops, sorry. I wanted to animate this differently. Just 1 second. Okay, I can hear my wife upstairs explaining to my daughter that alligators have short legs. So in a way, this book helps to invent anti-racism, although sadly, it was not very well known up until it was translated in the year 2000. In the year 2000, it posits that there is only one human race, that brain size is equal, and that the Haitian Revolution is the proof of our equality. So Firmin argued that belief was reasonable or logical, but because the history of slavery and colonialism had produced, shaped, and ultimately naturalized that prejudice. Oh, wait a minute. You can't see what I'm saying, can you? You can't. I wasn't sharing my slides. I wasn't, was I? I apologize. I'll show these to you again. So we'll go back to Dubois' quote here. Firmin argued that this belief was reasonable or logical, but because the history of slavery and colonialism had produced, shaped, and ultimately naturalized that prejudice, which means he was there in the 1880s explaining that the scientific basis of racism is complete bunk because it ignores the socio-political realities that go into these differences that can be readily acknowledged. Though his tone was lighthearted, Firmin was making a serious point. For each supposed scientific observation deployed to justify racist theories, he could provide an opposite example. That's what he was doing all the way back in 1883. So, this is the context that we are stopping in right here. All right, this is where we're going to stop the class for now. We're dealing with Haiti being a very complicated place, divided into 11 different parts. We got a lot of people exploiting from France, from Germany, a little bit from England and America, starting to sniff around, trying to see what they're going to do. If you have this book, please read the next chapter. Uh, there you go. We are talking pages 204 to 223. I'll just 204 to 223. That will be the next set of homework if you are keeping up in the textbook at home. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Kind of a quick one, but I think pretty profound. All right, there's the camera.